Howdy, folks. It is Diecastbuffet here again. Kyle Larson wins at Martinsville. That's freaking awesome. We got some spicy opinions about Martinsville as well, but I tell you what, that race to win diecast. If you like blown out tires, oh boy, this is going to be one of the coolest Kyle Larson race win diecasts out there, especially being the first win at Martinsville for Larson. And then you have, of course, that Ricky Hendrick paint scheme. This is going to be I think a favorite in the Kyle Larson arsenal of diecast collecting. Make sure to pre-order that 124. I'm like 99% sure they're going to offer a 164. Hopefully they do. Either way, man, make sure to get your diecast pre-order. This is going to be a hot seller, I personally think. So huge congratulations to my second favorite driver, Kyle Larson, winning. And of course, you can save on shipping with the promo code Diecastbuffet, all one word, same as the YouTube username, right? Use it, check out, any orders $30 or more, boom, say on that. I think they also have t-shirts for each one of the race wins this year, so if you want something you can wear around, hey, they have a race win t-shirt as well. They'll be offering, I believe, for every single race win, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, what do I think about Martinsville? Oh boy. So I got to start off with the whole weekend. The Truck Series racing on the rain tires was kind of like a pipe dream that I truly thought would work. And it actually worked. It actually freaking worked. Like the rain tires, I could barely tell a difference, the style of racing between slicks and rain tires, except the trucks that were slower were even slower, and the trucks that were faster were even faster. So essentially, you go a lap down faster because the discrepancy between slow trucks and fast trucks is expedited because obviously the different tires. That might just be a lack of setup adjusting, but I think it was a smashing success. However, I think it's asinine that they don't race it in the actual wet weather. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. It blows my mind that they can run sports cars at high speeds at Daytona on the high banks during the Rolex 24 during rain, but we can't run short tracks when it's raining. I'm not talking about a monsoon, but I'm just like, I just find that asinine that we can't do that. So to me, they need to make a rule for that or something. If you're not going to run it when it's drizzling or a little bit of rain, then what's the point, really? I think that was really stupid in my honest opinion. So if they can run sports cars on the high banks where everything just slides, they might be at reduced speeds or whatever, but they're still able to. I just can't see why they couldn't run at one of the flattest tracks on the circuit like Martinsville. So to me, that's just asinine. A lot of fans are kind of wishy-washy on that. I don't blame them because it's like, we thought we would get a little bit of racing in the rain. They're like, no, it's only for a damp racetrack, which is like, I just, to me, that's asinine. But anyways, love the Xfinity race. I love the truck racing we got. Generally, that is the best show of the weekend, at least with the next-gen era at Martinsville, because the Xfinity cars are pretty much just modified COTs, and the trucks, they always race aggressive, which if you know me, if you've been on this channel long enough, first, thank you. God bless for that. But I love aggressive racing. And when I see the cars in the Xfinity Series beating and banging, and you got, donut marks on each door, that's the type of racing Martinsville should be and has been for the longest amount of time until really the late Gen 7 or Gen 6 era, and now, of course, next gen. And that brings you to my point that next gen cars just don't race well at short tracks. To me, every time we go to Martinsville, the way the cars hook in the corner, it just seems like they're able to go to the corner faster or easier. With the Gen 6 car, it just seemed like they just slammed the brakes, everyone kind of bottlenecks, and then they pull away on the corner. We don't really see that with the Gen 7 cars. It just feels like they just coast through the corners just a lot easier, and I feel like that hinders the ability to actually do the bump and run and have harder racing, which, I mean, let's just be honest, they're modified sports cars at this point in a spec series, so you can say what you want to say, but my point is that short track racing is not getting better. They can say whatever they want about the rules package having the lowest downforce since the late 90s, which I think is a bunch of hogwash. I don't know what metric or statistic has that, but I can tell you from a fan's perspective that has watched Gen 4, Gen 5, COT, Gen 6, both early, high horsepower to the low, horsepower, and then back to the high horsepower. Short track racing is really at a low point. And I had kind of a theory, and maybe it's kind of crazy, but I really think they got to make drastic changes to the short track program. Richmond, poop. That's pretty much what it is. Phoenix, it sucks. There's no way both of those tracks deserve 2 race dates. If they're not willing to make drastic changes to the short track program, I'm talking like no splitter, no spoiler, no diffuser, whatever it takes to get these cars to handle like crap and create better racing, maybe a brand new tire compound. I don't know. Get rid of the side skirts on the cars. Get rid of as much downforce. Add horsepower. Even just for the short tracks, just do it. That's what they did with the late Gen 6 era. They added horsepower again to the short tracks. Add it again. Why not? It creates better racing. I don't care what the manufacturers think. Go for it, because the racing suffers from it. So if they're not willing to make drastic changes like I just mentioned, I honestly really don't think Martinsville deserves 2 races on the Cup schedule, because there are so many other racetracks that they can go to. Chicagoland, second race at Dover, second race at Michigan. Heck, they could even have a 3rd race at Kansas and it'd probably be better, okay? Pocono, anywhere. And Nashville race is better. I personally think that Richmond and Phoenix for sure does not deserve 2 race dates, and I'm starting to really believe Martinsville doesn't either. And the only reason the fall Martinsville race is actually entertaining is because it is the final race before the Final Four. So the drivers pretty much have a Game 7 moment where they have no other option but to run over the next guy. That's pretty much what it is. Last year, we always talk about the Ross Chastain move, which, let's just be honest, is one of the greatest moves in NASCAR history. That race, for the most part, was really bland. It was pretty much Denny Hamlin dominating, right? You don't want to see one driver dominating like in the spring race where you saw Byron and Chase Elliott pretty much just dominating the whole show. Well, for the most part, the race was pretty tame in terms of the battle of the lead. It was only to the last few, moments of the race, or last 50 laps or so, when everything got crazy because of the playoffs. If it was just a normal points format, we would have never saw that. That's my point. Martinsville does not race well with the next-gen cars. If they're not willing to make drastic changes to the cars for short tracks, then there's really no point in having 2 races at these places. You look at the Bristol Dirt Race. I personally loved it. I don't know why people don't like it. I really don't know why. It's got passing. It's got comers and goers. You have cautions. You have just crazy restarts. It has everything that you could want as a NASCAR fan, yet people were still unhappy about it. I don't know why. Barely anybody shows up to it, which is really asinine to me as well. But then you go to a track like Richmond and the racing sucks. And then they have a great crowd. I just don't get it. But my point is that instead of going to Phoenix twice, instead of going to Richmond twice, and possibly even Martinsville twice, go to these other tracks that have proven to have great racing. Pocono, fantastic. Michigan, fantastic. I think Dover was a sleepy good racetrack last year. I know Elliott won it, but I could care less. The racing was so much more like the early Gen 6 Dover races that were really good, where you saw comers and goers, you saw crashes, you saw parts failures. That's the type of Dover I know. And believe it or not, once upon a time, when back in the Winston Cup days, they had grandstands pretty much around the entire Dover track almost, and they borderline sold out. I mean, it was insane the amount of fans and the interest at Dover. And you look at it now, I mean, it's not even close. So that just shows you how far the racing has fell there. But I think it can actually get back there with the next-gen car. What do y'all think, guys? I know these opinions are kind of spicy, so to speak, but I'm just, every time I look at these short tracks in the schedule, I'm just disappointed. I'm like, oh, great, it's this race coming up. Oh, it's this race. If you would have told me 10 years ago, I'd be looking forward to 1.5 mile racing 10 times more than any short track, I'd have said you're crazy. And that's the reality. The schedule needs to fit what the current car has and offers. To me, super speedways, 2 miles, and 1.5 mile racing is the best form of racing for the next-gen car. I still think, there's not a verdict, so to speak, on the road courses, because we only had one road course, and it was COTA, which is a crazy fun racetrack. How is it going to be when you go to the street course, which I still think they should go to Road America. That's a different story. How is it going to be when they go to Sonoma? How are they going to be when they go to Watkins Glen, X, Y, and Z? We'll see how that downforce package works. Plus, not having stage breaks, which I think should be everywhere, really made COTA a super interesting weekend. So I can't really judge that just yet. But drastic changes need to be made to the short track program, or just reduce the short tracks in the schedule and go to tracks that actually produce really good racing. either way, we did have a better race this year than we did last year in the spring event. I will give you that. I think honestly, the racing it in the daytime compared to nighttime with the temperatures probably helped more than the actual lower downforce package or whatever they're trying to sell it as, which looked almost exactly the same to me. But yeah, I'm curious what y'all think. Make sure to comment down below. Make sure to put that Kyle Larson race to win diecast. It's going to be freaking epic. Hopefully it has some confetti on there. That's all for now. Like, comment, and subscribe. At least Talladega's next. That place never disappoints. Unless it's train racing like the 2013 Daytona 500, which let's hope not. Have a great one, everybody. Diecast Buffet. Signing off.